This is your Monday Daily Delivery. Patrick Reusse is here with me. Patrick, forecast looked okay Monday, but as we're recording here, there's a threat of rain later. Do you still want to do the podcast?
I don't know if we should. It's kind of sunny here. Not quite as sunny as it was at Target Field on Saturday, but it's a nice looking morning here. I guess that be careful when you're out there, folks. There could be clouds in Rapid City or something. They could be on the way here, so be careful. Kind of a Saturday. This is certainly getting off the beaten track, but it reminds me of being in Milwaukee once for a Twins game on an afternoon with the amped up Dennis Bracken was covering for the Minneapolis. I was still in St. Paul, and it was a beautiful blue day. And he said, "Boy, if we get a rain delay, I got nothing to write." I said, "Yeah, I look, Dennis, there's clouds in the Black Hills. I think we'll be okay." But anyway, I mean, that was terrible what they did Saturday. There's people that come in, bring their family. If you're a guy living in Fargo or someplace, right? You come in once a year, right?
Yep.
You bring in mom and the two kids once a year. You go to a game on Saturday and stop at Valley Fair when it's open on Sunday or some dang thing. I don't know if it's open yet, but you can't just bang a ball game because Francona and Rocco decide their pitchers need a little rest, and you want to set up your rotation so you can pitch Maeda on Monday instead of Saturday. You can't do that. You can't do that to people, and I'm shocked that Dave St. Peter and the front office went along, and probably all the way up to the poll ads went along with this. I'm shocked they went along with this because there was no way that the weather forecast said there's an 80% chance of heavy rain all day. They might have said 40, 60, something like that. It was an absolute scam. And here you're okay. You can get tickets probably to any game. Well, you've already paid your $12, right? You already paid your $12 to park. If you're, if your mom, dad, and the two kids, you've already let the kids run to the concession stand. You spend another, maybe bought a hat when you got there. You might be $50-$60 in, and they're going to tell you they're not going to play a game. That's not, they should get fined. I think Major League Baseball should fine them for $100,000 or something for doing something like that. It's a disgrace, in my opinion.
I kept looking outside, Patrick, thinking they could be playing right now. It's, wasn't raining at the start of the game. And, for a good, I think Phil Miller's story said, first couple hours, they could have gotten pretty deep into the game before it even started sprinkling a little bit.
Yeah, even then it wasn't raining to stop the game. There would have been nothing to rain. Howard Sinker looked it up for me. 0.12 inches of rain in the 20-hour period before 7:30 p.m. That's I wrote a little blog on this morning. I said that's as much spittle as it takes to have a COVID test. Basically, it's what the hell are they doing to their fans? I mean, you already got them. You already gave them a disappointing product, and you already can't watch them on television, right?
Right.
Anybody your age can't watch them. You can't watch them.
Not legally anyway. They can find the streams, but they can.
But you got to be. Even us old people are starting to stream now. But the younger group, they might as well just write them off completely, because they're not. They're all streaming, and unless they have the more expensive option, they're not watching. They're not watching baseball games. And now you do this. It's ridiculous, in my opinion.
Well, you've talked about, you've lamented often the MRI machine and how it diagnoses injuries, soft tissue injuries. The Doppler, the weather, whatever the weather system they're using that says it could rain. That was probably a big factor in this too, huh?
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff south.
Right, I saw that.
But it didn't move. If this game was going to be played in Rochester, it would have been you should have called it off because it rained like hell down there. But not. I mean, it was Rocco wanting to the strategically and okay, if they're in first place and have an outside chance of making the playoffs again, and you're trying to set up your pitching and blah, 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 it's meaningless. Even if Josh Donaldson has made another speech, this team isn't winning more than 75 games. So don't, it's why do you do this to your fans? It's just ridiculous. And it might be 5,000 people, right? It might only be 5,000 that this game is a special occasion for them, and a lot of the others are just regulars and stuff like that. But still, it's 5,000 people that you have infuriated.
I'm Chris Hine, Timberwolves beat writer at the Star Tribune and the first 5-time guest in daily delivery history. Thank you for listening to this podcast. This work is made possible by our Star Tribune subscribers. For unlimited access to the articles mentioned in this podcast, our coverage of Minnesota sports from pros to preps, and even all of Rand's future blog posts about how the Timberwolves should trade for players they will never get, go to startribune.com/subscribe.
So you're not fired up. You're not fired up by Josh Donaldson's second speech. They've been playing a little bit better. I think I calculated they're 19-15 since that awful 14-28 start. They, whatever they did to anger the baseball gods on Saturday didn't seem to show up on Sunday, since they did win 8-2. But yeah, it seems like they got these 10 games against Chicago that they sure seem to be kind of holding on to in their back pocket. Like this is the thing. This is our chance to turn it around. More likely, it's probably their chance to fall further behind. But so you're not convinced by Josh Donaldson's latest fire up the team routine, huh?
Well, I don't, that's fine and blah, blah, blah. But, and they're playing the White Sox at the right time. The White Sox are not playing good right now. And, so, I've always said, it's not who you play, it's when you play them. I mean, that's an old cliche, but it's very believable in baseball. My struggling Cardinals are just playing Pittsburgh right now, getting swept, for God's sakes, because Pittsburgh's playing a little better and they're playing a little worse. But, does anyone think that this pitching staff can stay together long enough? This starting rotation, they have Hap, who's mediocre as you can possibly be. They have Reusse and they have Maeda, and they don't even have Randy Dobnik anymore. I mean, they got nothing after that. I guess they might get Pineda back here someday. But, this is not a team that's gonna, with Buxton not playing again for another whoever knows month. This team has no chance. But you got to try. You got to talk about it and give yourself a little excitement, I guess, at least in your own clubhouse. But I don't see it making much difference. They might split these. They might go 6-4, 7-3 against the Whiteys, but the White Sox are going to end up winning close to 90 games when it's over, because they have pitching and the Twins don't. So that's, although, the bullpen, even though the Rogers, he let the one get away the other night, but he's been really good, and Duffy's gotten a whole lot better. Duffy's got back where he is, and Thielbar's usable, and the back end of the bullpen's a little bit. Hansel will drive you crazy, but he's okay too. So they got 4 guys back there now who you think have a chance to get them out, which makes things a little better. But I don't know. I don't see it as an excuse not to play a ball game when you can. So Anyway.
Who got hosed worst, Minnesota fans or Minnesota teams over the years? I saw your column this weekend about we got hosed. How did that get received, first of all?
Obviously, I guess to me, as I said on Twitter, I've worked with many great newspaper people who have always felt that if the fans, if the readers don't get it, they've let the people down, and I've always felt if the readers don't get it, they've let me down. Which is a good defense mechanism to have. It was a satire on the attempt, the attempt in Arizona and apparently Georgia now to overturn the election. And bamboo. They're going to looking for Chinese bamboo in the ballots. And I mean, all this incredible nonsense. And it struck me one day as we could go back and look at these various sports events a couple of days ago. It struck me and kind of have some fun with this whole thing. And I thought when I put the Chinese bamboo in the goalposts at the XL Energy Center, that might give people a pretty good idea where we were. And then we ended up with a hologram being used against us in New Orleans. I thought that was, but I don't know, maybe people got it, but a lot of them, it became a debate as to which game should be included instead of, I was looking for honestly looking for the Trumpers to be calling me names and stuff about this, but I don't know. I guess it was. I had fun writing it, and I guess it was a complete flop. I would have to say. So what the hell? You write a lot of them, and some of them work, and some of them don't. So I haven't done that for a long time, but that was. I tried to make the satire as clear as I possibly could, and then I kind of chose games that. Not obviously the Brett Favre game in New Orleans, but I tried to kind of like the guy. One of my favorite things of all time in sports was Gardy being irate because the Irish tenor took too long to sing God Bless America 7 minutes. I had to get that one in there because, Gardy, son of an army, an army brat, of the first magnitude, loves the military, is being accused of being non-patriotic the next day. And, the New York tabloids are ripping him. But I went in there after everybody was cleared out that day and got him going on it, and he was irate. That took 7 minutes. They gave him a 7-minute break when Radke had, was pitching great, and people forget. The difference between that and the Mauer double is the Twins were ahead in that series 1-0.
Yeah.
In the anthem scandal, and not the anthem, the God Bless America scandal. So they win that game. They're coming home up 2-0, right?
Yes.
They're going to win. They're going to beat the Yankees. And, the Joe game, if they win that game, it's tied 1-1 when they're coming home. So that's a big difference. And, but I don't know. It's fun to write. If people didn't get it, what the heck? That's the way it goes. One thing you find out again, though, is I certainly wish the commenters would, and then not just me, everybody, the number of comments we get from people who haven't read more than the headline kind of drives me crazy. Read, at least if you're going to comment and that's fine, make whatever comment it is, but at least read it. Okay.
That's a good point. And the Joe game, by the way, I know this is a little off topic. You just brought that up as a point of reference, but the Mauer double drives me crazy too, because I think that was a lead. It was leading off the inning. He still got a single. They still loaded the bases with nobody out and then didn't score. So I blame that inning on the Twins offense, not just Phil Cuzziela. He botched that call terribly, but you still loaded the bases with nobody out. It did not prevent you from taking the lead. What did was, I think Delman Young hit like a screaming liner that got caught by first baseman, and then that was that.
That was the start of the 18-game losing streak, right? Wasn't that it?
Think so. No.
The
start of it was 2004.
Yeah, but
that one was 2009.
Okay. Excuse me.
The Cuzzy game was 2009.
Okay, it was that late. Okay, all right.
But
it was the second game in 2004 they lost, but the inability to take advantage of opportunities. The reason they've lost 18 straight is they can't hit in the postseason. That's why, and they can't hit in the clutch. They have the number of clutch hits they've had in the postseason since 2000, second game in 2004 is you can count it on one hand. That's their biggest problem. They just can't, they're good clubs. They just couldn't get a hit, and of course, the one we've all agreed on this, the one that they should have won was that Oakland series. That was getting swept by that club was not good. Anyway, this team is, it is decent that, who's become my favorite player?
Who is that?
The shortstop.
Yeah, you love
I love him,
you love his antics, don't you?
He is just goofy, but damn, he's good. He is really good in the field. He's amazing. I think we talked about it last week, but there's never a play that surprises him. There's never a bad hop. There's never somebody throwing the base when they got him once this year when he wasn't ready for a throw, but his anticipation, he reminds me of Puck, because Puck wasn't a brain surgeon in life, but Puck's instincts on a baseball field were unmatched. And this guy's the same way. He knows everything that's going to happen. And for a shortstop, that's even more complex than a center fielder. So
you see our old friend Hector Santiago got tossed from Sunday's
one,
game. First one, baby.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's the only one that's been cheating. So I'm glad they made an example of Hector Santiago, not one of the other more famous culprits.
The cliche for sports columnists around the country has been to have a good time with the folly of all of this. Well, what's the other option?
Yeah,
to let them keep
cheating. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's okay. Maybe here's the problem. The rosin and the sunscreen might be for the grip on the baseball, but these guys aren't chemists. Umpires aren't chemists, so you got to do something. You can't let them. You can't make the spin rate the holy grail of pitching, and then see these spin rates going to incredible heights, and then you stop letting them do this and they go down.
Right.
There's something going on here. I mean,
obviously,
they're trying to do something. It's certainly not perfection. I think they should have suspended Romo for a week right off the bat. I suppose they didn't want to get in a big fight with the players union, but they should have, when the pitcher makes a farce of the rule, by the
taking his pants off. Yeah.
Antics, something should be done. They let it ride, but I mean, most of them, we were citing 2 or 3 examples of crazy behavior by pitchers, but most people just hand them their glove and walk into the dugout. Right? It takes 20 seconds, and it happens between innings, so it's not adding to the time of the game. And they had to try something. Now, the middle of the season might not be the time, but
right.
Hector getting caught, is evidence that they're checking. So maybe it'll keep reducing it. I don't know. Anything that adds a little hitting to the game, we got to be in favor of, don't we?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. The folly was letting it go for so long and then deciding mid-season to make this correction, because then it's just, awkward, and you see the clear line. If you put an off season between it, then you don't have this kind of damage, not as much damage to the game as you get with this. But you know what? They've been doing nothing but damage to the game for a while. So why stop now?
And the biggest damage to the game is the ball not being in play. So don't you think? Time of game and the ball not being in play. So this is 2 things that might, there has been a little uptick in hitting. So
yes,
maybe it's good. I don't know.
Well, it's interesting too is they don't let you replace the guy on the roster if he gets suspended.
They didn't want to fine him, I don't think, because then that would have led to the grievances and the whole thing, right? With the Players Association and stuff. But not letting them replace the guy on the roster puts pressure on the team,
right?
To make sure these guys aren't cheating.
Now, I'm going to have Rachel Blount on Tuesday's show, who covers the Olympics for us, does a great job of that. But man, Patrick, we got to talk a little bit about, this is one of the largest summer Olympics. When did we become a summer Olympic state? We got 3 gymnasts.
That's right.
Suni Lee, Grace McCallum, and Shane Wiskus. We got some track and field athletes. We got a bunch of basketball players. We are dominating. Minnesota is dominating the Summer Olympics, at least in qualifying.
Yeah, it's incredible to have two of the women's gymnasts on the team, because I mean all these clubs around the country, and the Carollis and all those people who used to produce the whole squad and stuff, and to have two of your own kids make that team is just incredible. And the Summer Olympics kind of became huge again. It used to be a track meet. I talked about this before, but when Nadia Comaneci showed up and turned gymnastics into causing every woman in the country to watch the Summer Olympics, and there's nothing more popular in the Summer Olympics than women's gymnastics, and we got two of them. It is incredible. And then Whiskas, good for him. The University of Minnesota had the guts to send out a tweet honoring him, former Gopher. Nobody hates them more than he does, by the way, dropping his program. But congratulations to him. And it is. I mean, we got a tremendous delegation over there. Rachel and Suhan are going to be jumping, that's for sure, covering all our athletes that are over there. It's incredible. It's really great. And the controversy of whether it was going to be held or not, just kind of the Japan. You got to give the Japanese politicians credit. They hung in there and had everybody say, "You can't do this. You can't play them. You got to postpone them again." But they're going forward with it, and it is unfortunate that people from other countries can't show up at this place. But what the heck? It's a good respite from the summer. I'm not a hardcore Olympic watcher, but there are certain events I'll watch, and I'll certainly be watching the Minnesota kids who have a chance to do something. My guy Peyton Otterdahl sneaked in there third in the shot put. So it's I did a column on him and his brothers a couple of years ago, and knew his dad well, the basketball junkie of all time. Or his grandpa Tom Otterdale started off as a basketball star at Normandale Junior College at 28 or 29 years old. He was a Bloomington kid who just loved the game, and he ended up playing at St. Thomas. He was all conference. I think he was 31 or 32 when he played there. And there's this whole collection of St. Paul guys, Fitzpatrick and those guys who played noon ball and they played noon at various places, and they just are junkies, and still in their 60s now, and they still play. And Tom died, but he was one of the all-time junkies, so that's I know those guys. And the Otterdale, I'd like Peyton maybe sneak in there and get a bronze medal. Pretty or something.
Cool. Yeah, see how all these athletes do, but man, the trials, I've paid more attention to the trials this year, I think, than I had in past years, just because there's so many local stories that we've been reading about and following these, and we've had an extra year to kind of think about these athletes, and then now they, a lot of them by and large have shown up in the trials and gotten it done. It's pretty cool. It should make for a fun Olympics in Japan.
I was thinking about like Reagan Smith, the great swimmer, and I wonder about her her 6-year-old friends who, when they were 6 years old, and they jumped in the pool together, and started off, and what you're, hey, let's go down and take swimming lessons or something. And now I don't know, maybe she started off at 4 or something, but I always find it curious that, you grew up with this kid, and 6, 7, and 8, you were almost the same, and all of a sudden, we're disappointed because she only made the Olympics in 2 events, not 3. It always strikes me as what a great experience that would be, to have a kid like that to be like a lifelong friend of yours, and all of a sudden she's trying to get up on the podium and get the gold medal, and it's pretty amazing stuff.
Speaking of amazing stuff, Patrick, 2 original 6 teams in the NHL Finals, Montreal and Tampa Bay.
Wow. Yeah, right. Yeah, Montreal, underdog of all time. I mean, it's hard to look at the Canadians. They have I didn't realize Canada hasn't won it since they won it.
That's very true.
Years ago. Yeah, Canada hasn't won it, and I mean this was totally unexpected for them to make it, knock off Vegas, and it was. I did the Lightning 2 years ago when they had that great team, that great offensive team that was. How many points they end up with? I think they must end up with almost the most points of the expansion era. Since they started giving you the free points and for getting beat, they incredible. They were scoring 5 goals a game. And I went up and when I was in Florida, and I went up and spent a couple of days up there and did like 4 different stories on this Vinnick, the owner, who gives away $50,000 at every game you pick out the charity. Some fan goes out the middle of the ice, and the end, between the first and second period, they get a check for $50,000 to give to their favorite charity, and continued to do that during the pandemic shutdown. They would go to people's houses on days that games were supposed to be played, knock on the door and give them a $50,000 check to give to a charity. I mean, he's building this city down there next to the stadium now. The arena, I don't know if it's still on, if the building's still on because of the pandemic or not, but they were building all this stuff around there. And yet that team, which was probably their best, gets swept in 4 by Columbus. They took a 3-0 lead in the first period, blew the lead, choked like dogs, and now they're probably going to win back-to-back cups because they kind of changed their game a little bit to be more defensive and less offensive.
Yeah, 1-0 in Game 7 over the weekend against the Islanders. That was not an exciting game.
Yeah, I was rooting for the Island just because of the fact that they're playing the last season in the old dump up there where they won all their cups. I thought that was a great story, but I didn't realize, I got to admit, I didn't pay attention too much to bubble hockey last year. I didn't realize the Lightning and the Islanders also played in the finals last year, the East there. And so the Islanders, after all that abuse that, is Clutterbuck still playing? I think he is,
he
right?
is.
Didn't I see Clutterbuck still playing? That's got to be 8 years, doesn't it, when they made that trade? Man alive. Because the fans all love Clutterbuck because he'd take that good running guy and good cheap shot guy. We liked him. So anyway, it's, I don't know. It's kind of off the radar as far as Montreal and Tampa Bay. It's hard to have a rooting interest here, but it's an interesting story that Montreal's back in there, that's for sure.
Yes, it is. But Patrick Reusse, good stuff. Thanks for joining me here on this Monday, as we always do. We'll figure out what we're going to do next week for the 4th, but maybe we'll sneak one in as well. Thanks for joining us here today, and thanks, Patrick. We'll catch you next week.
Do you go along with my plan that the 4th of July should always be
I'll go with
Monday?
it. Even if it's not the 4th, we'll just alter the calendar a little bit.
That's
Thanks,
right.
Patrick.
All right. See you later.
Let's finish with the cooler. We didn't get to this with Patrick, but the Lynx got to 7-7 with a big win over Vegas on Friday. Let's turn this into a Sylvia Fowles appreciation podcast for the next 30 to 40 seconds or so, just talking about 30 points, 14 rebounds, 4 blocks, 4 assists, and 4 steals in that victory. If you thought she was starting to slow down a little bit in her career, she's just getting better this year. It's been 2 monster games in a row to get the Lynx back to 500 after that 0-4 start. Lynx looking every bit like the contender we thought they would be now after that slow start, and Sylvia Fowles right in the middle of it. Last year had a role in how far they went. Certainly was huge in a couple of their championships, 2015 and 2017. But you kind of forgot about her a little bit. At least I did, because they started playing more of a 3-point style, more of an inside-out kind of style. But boy, they have really leaned on her the last couple games, and they have needed every bit of what she has given them. That'll do it for today. Like I mentioned when I was on with Patrick a little earlier, Rachel Blount will join me on Tuesday's show to talk about all of our Olympians and what an amazing run it has been in the U.S. trials. Thanks for joining me here today on Daily Delivery. We'll be back at it again on Tuesday.